Joel, we have just a few months until the GDPR hits. The roadmap has now become a very short sprint, not to mix metaphors, but where is the enterprise now? Are companies prepared? And if not prepared, what can they do with this short time remaining to get ready for this regulation?
Yeah, absolutely. We are definitely coming down to the wire, as you know, as commonly said. I think that you will find that there was a huge rush to get ready, and then right now, paradoxically, either people are in fact sort of wigging out, so to speak, or they are just burying their head in the sand. What I've seen, and I look at the statistics, I have seen that in a lot of ways, it seems that companies outside of the EU are actually seem to be a lot more concerned. I saw something statistics recently where it said that only about 45% of companies in the EU felt that they will be prepared, that they'll be ready. And the number drops as you get to the smaller companies, the medium to smaller size businesses that obviously don't have the same resources as the larger corporations. They seem to be really unprepared. So at this point, it will be an issue of almost like damage control and really making sure that you are showing best efforts at this point to achieve compliance, and start by doing just your analysis of the five W's, where, what, when, and so forth, and really try to get to a point where you understand at least where the customer data is and what it is that you're doing with it, and how can you ameliorate any use above and beyond what you have consent for.
I'm glad you brought up amelioration as well as the consequences. We know there will be fines, but for companies who are unprepared for the GDPR, what can they anticipate after the deadline passes?
Yes, that's a great question, and frankly, we really don't know. We really don't know how aggressive the data protection authorities will be, and whether we're going to see more enforcement actions coming from Germany or from France via the CNIL, or Ireland and such. And the one thing that we do know for sure is that they have doubled or tripled their staff. So, for example, whereas the Irish DPA used to have, I believe, 10 people in their staff, now all of a sudden they have at least double that. So what we can surely expect is that there will be a rush of data subjects who will be making complaints. And then it's going to be very interesting to see how the DPAs are going to react to that, and what kind of enforcement actions they're going to take. I would imagine, frankly, that they will start taking a closer look and moving forward with investigations and such with social media companies, because anybody that is in a consumer play company certainly has a lot more exposure to getting requests from the data subjects. And to the extent that that such companies are not able to produce the data and explain to the customer, what they're doing with it, or delete that data, right? Purge the data from their systems, from the customer's request, then you can definitely see some exposure there.
That actually brings up a great point. Regulation itself doesn't necessarily protect consumers, although the companies moving to enact the regulation might. What does this mean for personal identifiable information for companies who have not complied versus those that have? Is it more safe? Is it less? Does it matter?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think that it depends on the type of company that it is, right? I mean, if you have a company that has been dealing with personal identifiable information, and that company is, for example, HIPAA compliant, they have a certain infrastructure in place and processes and procedures, with retention policies and such for the data. whereby a lot of the objectives and at least the protected measures, you know, organizational and technical measures will be in place as mandated by the GDPR on the one hand, that will in a lot of ways be matched by the infrastructure that is required by HIPAA and such. Same thing with, you know, financial information under the FINRA requirements. You can see where the infrastructure that has been in place and really more particularly the policies and ensuring that those policies are adhered to within the service provider processes and the way they handle that data. It's going to be very important in ensuring that, you know, you're following those policies. I think that by doing that, it will get you very far along complying with the GDPR, even if you have not finalized all of the steps necessary and ensure that you will reach compliance by the deadline.
So last question, Joel, for companies that have complied, and they are many, is this the end of the road? Do they rest easy and feel good? Or is this the beginning of another path and will require multiple configurations down the line?
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely the beginning. Compliance is an ongoing requirement. As long as you have the personal data, you know, of the data subjects, you have to comply with the GDPR. And even if the relationship has ended, you know, you have to delete the data, you have to dispose of the data in the, you know, the proper manner and specified in the GDPR. But, you know, there are so many modalities coming into play here. For example, you can see with IoT, you know, different Pandora's box can be open, because you need to think about all of the policies and they need to be in place. So the systems, you know, the automated systems are collecting information in such a way that it is within the consent that has been obtained from the customers. For example, if you are in wearables or, you know, you are collecting the data in other devices, in various devices at home. And I think these are areas that we really need to, as citizens ourselves, as data subjects, we really need to involve ourselves with and ensure that, you know, we are interacting with the legislators, the regulators, so that their mission of protecting the consumer while allowing for technology to flourish so that the consumer can be better off, so that services can be provided to the consumer, so that all that mechanism, you know, it's working smoothly, and you are on the one hand obtaining the benefits, the great benefits that technology brings to all of us, while respecting, you know, your privacy in such a way that is allowed while you're using that technology. So I think these are very important issues that we all need to be concerned with and make sure that we're involved in this discussion, and, you know, that we elect the legislators that understand this and are going to be working to really allow technology to flourish while protecting the consumer.